There's so much going on in Nigeria's political space, and it's happening so fast that if you blink, you might miss something vital. The candidates are out, the parties are on the move, albeit at different levels, but their goal remains to lead this country come 2023. Leading the country where is another case entirely. So let's find out about their plans and policy directions to make your life better. After all, that's the essence of government. Joining us tonight from our Abuja studio, three gentlemen. Mr. Kasim Efegbua is the Secretary, Public Affairs, APC Presidential Campaign Council, is the former spokesperson of the PDP's presidential campaign. Also, Mr. Tanko Yunusa is the Chief Spokesperson, Labour Party Presidential Campaign Council, and Mr. Don Pedro Basaki, who is a media presidential consultant to PDP presidential candidates. It's a full panel tonight. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program tonight.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
I'd like us to begin with a general sense of where this country is at the moment. Because, yes, there's usually the political rhetorics, the usual talk, but we need to dive deeper into the issues at stake so we can proffer the right solutions. And I'll begin with Mr. Efegbua. I'll take the words of the former CBN governor and 14th Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamido, who spoke about Nigeria being a rentier state. And he says that if in 2023 we have an election, we must not continue that way because we can't keep pushing towards the brink. We have to come back. And I wonder for you, do you agree that as a nation, we're pushing towards the brink under the APC?
Well, Kayode, thank you very much for the opportunity of this discussion. I just want to advise, as one of your analysts, that next time you are inviting three gentlemen like this, please know how to segment your program. You've taken almost half of the time, and I doubt if we're going to have time to actually interrogate the issue, the question you have raised. So please know how to segment your time. You can give 1 hour to ASU to discuss ASU problem and all of that, and then you allow us 1 hour to also discuss about politics.
Well, just to be clear, time is never our friend, Mr. Efegbua, and we need to ensure that we deal with the major issues. ASU is also very important to millions of Nigerians. So please go ahead so we don't take too much time.
We are all professionals in this game. I've just advised you, but part of your corporate social responsibility could be to grant ASU 1 hour to come and discuss issues to Nigeria. The point I'm trying to make is that, one, Nigeria is not in isolation from what is happening at the global arena. And so it's difficult for one to just pick out Nigeria as if it's existing, like just a singular country. But essentially, in 2023, we are going to be looking at candidates, who have the capacity, who have the depth, and who have the network of influence across the country, who can unite this country together better than it is now, who can explore the resource of dialogue, who can also engage in constructive bargaining, collective engagement, so that we are able to unite or bring together all the centripetal and centrifugal forces of this country on the round table for us to design and define our national goal and objective. I am supporting Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, for example. He's a candidate of APC.
Well, Mr. Efegbua, pardon me to butt in. Because of time, the question I asked was, straightforward. And I referenced what the former CBN governor talked about, Nigeria keep pushing towards the brink. So we can understand that your party, yes or no, understands the current situation of Nigeria. So do you agree that we're pushing towards the brink under this party? Right, so do you agree with him or not?
I have my opinion. That is the opinion of the former CBN governor. I'm not bound to toe his line. I have my own opinion. I've just told you what my expectations are in 2023. Whether Nigeria is going to the brink, whether it's putting out of the brink, it depends on the quality of leadership we're able to put in place in 2023 and what is the capacity of that president to rally around all the centripetal and centrifugal forces. In Nigeria, we're tired of hearing the same issues every now and then and all of that. Everybody coming to promise, but what I know for a fact is the fact that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu has the capacity to contend with issues that are threatening us, whether now, whether in the future, because he's got a very wonderful initiative encapsulated in his action plan, which, when put into practice, would be a far cry from what presently exists. But again, you can't discuss Nigeria in isolation. That's what I'm saying. Most countries in the world now in the brink, even the UK, that is our colonial masters, they are suffering a lot. You know, too many things are happening almost every day. So you can't discuss Nigeria in isolation. But
well, this question is particularly about Nigeria, but because of time, let's bring in the other gentleman with you, Mr. Fegbo. And I'll take this to Mr. Yunusa, just to get his opening comments. I think it's important to diagnose where we are. I mean, we can't say that we'll decide whether or not in 2023. First, we need to know where we're headed as a nation, so we know what we need to get us out of it. So for you, Mr. Yunusa, do you agree with that submission first? I mean, how well does your party have an understanding of where we are as a nation?
Well, quite honestly, the truth be told, we have suffered a lot as a nation. Coming from successive government, considering what they have put in place and the level they have put Nigerian people into, is it in terms of insecurity, or in terms of indebtedness, or is it in terms of hopelessness, or is it in terms of lack of unity and cohesion? These are fundamental facts that have already been out in the public domain. In the last dispensations, Nigerians were so disenchanted with the level of decay in the system, and that was why they were able to vote for another political party, hoping that that particular change will resonate with the Nigerian people. Unfortunately, within that period, there's a lot that have also gone even triple or quadruple in terms of the decay in the system. Now, we need leaders who are well-grounded, who are articulate, who have the vision to think outside the box, if possible around the box, or anything that can build the box to make it more genuine and faster. And that is the reason why, understanding this particular simple dynamics in the system, our presidential candidate has come out with a 7-point agenda in order to deal with current issues, i.e., we want to deal with the issue of security. We want to deal with the issue of subsidy, which is current in our present dispensation. He wants to deal with the issue of power. The issue of power resonates. We can't even speak as we are today without talking about how to generate or get diesel. Right now, as we are speaking, a lot of people in Abuja, as we're speaking, are on the queue, scrambling for petroleum. And we want to talk about inflation, which has rocketed, affecting the Nigerian people. That is why we cannot even have 3 square meals on our table, because considering the level of inflation, it has gone so high. We want to talk about the level of indebtedness. This indebtedness has gone so far to a point in which Nigerians are even thinking, can we be able to take this thing out of our shoulder? And then he went ahead to say that we are going to talk about gender parity, carrying everybody along to make sure that we deal with the issues that have been there in the past leadership to present. Finally, he said we are going to talk about human capital development, creating jobs for our youth. And I was listening to a program this morning. Somebody was asking the question, how do we reduce the skyrocketed prices of dollars as against the Nigerian naira? It's simple. That is why the candidate is talking about production. Right. Once you are producing, you are not consuming. You will be able to produce things that you will be able to consume. And that way, within a short period of time, the dollar and the naira, of course, will almost come to an equal position, if not even getting lower. Right. But the Nigerian people, we have a lot. We have individual capacity, and that is why probably our campaign is people-driven, because the people are the one moving this particular campaign because they want to own the process. These are
let me bring this to
we can do as a problem, of course.
All right. So let me bring in a third gentleman, Mr. Don Pedro Baseki, and I mean, still pretty much the same question, but I'll just take a little part of a statement that was made also, because I mean, we've heard people, prominent Nigerians, give commentary about the situation of the country. And he particularly talked about Nigeria not existing for development, but as a site of rent and extraction to make those who control the state rich turning them into billionaires overnight. And your party is back again in the running after 16 years. And the question I will put to you is, what is different this time around from the previous years that Nigerians have seen? How can they be sure that, I mean, these words will not be true if your party comes into power?
Kayode, were you in Nigeria in 2015? Answer me. Were you in Nigeria in 2015?
Well, I asked the question first. You've not answered my question.
No.
That's typical Nigerian, as they say.
Democracy.
Answering a question with a question. But please go ahead with your answer.
If you were in Nigeria in the year of our Lord 2015, you don't need to ask me that question. Let me be very plain with you. Luckily for us, UNISA has said it all, encapsulated. Your question actually pretend that maybe you were not in Nigeria. In Nigeria in 2015, in fact in December 2014, the IMF and the World Bank recalibrated the Nigerian GDP and announced that Nigeria was the largest economy in Africa. Matter of fact, not manufactured. We all know that as at that time, Nigerians were maybe angry with the slow pace, the seeming, let me use the word that was trending on the APC trend then, cluelessness of that president. But we all know today that that was a banded set of lies packaged to the Nigerian people, saying change, 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 and all we got was palace exchange, saying next level, and they've taken us to a level that we never thought we would ever get to as a nation. What this nation needs is simple, so as to pull it back from the brink. This nation was not at that brink that the ex-CBN governor is speaking about today. He's talking about the currency. So when you are going back to 16 years, so as to join in the seeming demonization without creating proper product differentiation, then there is a problem. Now, Nigeria, as at 2015, we know where we were. And as a result of that, my own principal, Atiku Abubakar, who was a principal player of taking Nigeria from the brink, we fought up till 1999 to bring about democracy, a new change, a new vista. Nigeria was a nation held down by debt. And by the time the Obasanjo-Atiku government was leaving office, Nigeria, for the first time in 35 years, paid the Paris Club, and our debt was close to zero. We have to get the facts straight. Because the lack of history, or the lack of teaching of history, is making propaganda and little modelings here and there take over the social media space. That would be a greater disservice to our people. Children who were just 10 years old when this present government came in 2015, today they are in the university. So their adulthood is a palace APC-led government that have taken Nigeria back to Neverland. That is a statement of fact. What does Atiku bring to the table? Very simple.
Well, Mr. Dumfred Obaseki,
treats Nigeria
so we can be fair with time allocation.
Looking at what our major
we'll have to start the round robin again.
Of course, we've talked about infrastructure. We've talked about restructuring.
If you can hear me, I'll need to start again from Mr. Fegbas, just so we can be fair with time allocation. 3 minutes for each for the opening comment. And I mean, we've gotten yours. So let's now get deeper into this. So, Mr. Fegwa, your candidate has spoken about ensuring that poverty, hunger in the nation is a thing of the past, providing jobs for the youth. And putting a figure to it is also very important, such that Nigerians can know what to expect. As I say, governance is about managing expectations. Yes, give them the expectations and ensure that you meet them. What are the goals? For example, poverty figures, we're at 40%. What is the target of your candidate for that, for example?
Well, I think there are quite a number of policy initiatives that Bola Ahmed Tinubu has put together. You are just taking one item, which is the issue of poverty. And before you even tackle poverty, you must also have to address insecurity. Because if you look at the country today, there are challenges. There's no doubt about that. But Bola Tinubu is poised to ensure that he revisits, all our moribund industries in the area of textiles, cement, infrastructure, housing, and even the health sector. He's also talking about revamping those abandoned projects that have been let fallow for a long while, part of which were actually privatized under the Obasanjo-Atiku government, which they try to celebrate now. They left a lot of projects abandoned. They didn't, if you want to give credit to APC in this government, they continued the railway project of PDP government. They continued it as continuity. And so if you are able to address abandoned projects in this country, which if Bola Tinubu has said he's going to abandon, he's going to do, by also creating a national infrastructural bank that will be able to fill the funding gap of that initiative. I think a lot of people will have jobs to do. He has set a 40 million benchmark for job creation, because even within the agricultural value chain, there are quite a number of initiatives that have been put in place by the CBN presently. All you need to do is just to deepen that and ensure that more investment is put into that. Let me just remind us, by way of history, that what Don Pedro was talking about history, he has forgotten that his principal, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, was a major financier of the APC in 2015. So aside from participating in that process, leaving the PDP, joining the APC, so he was also a major, he also donated his spokesman, Garba Shehu, to the APC. So when you are blaming APC at any point in time for the halitosis that we're experiencing in the present, Atiku Abubakar, his principal, should take a larger blame, because the volume of billions he put into that campaign, if I mention, I'm sure this your network will stagger.
Well, I'm sure that you, I mean, clearly, the figure I asked you, by the way, it's okay. You can put it out there if there's figures to back it up. I mean, it's part of the conversation anyway, to track campaign spending. So if you do have it, by all means, please lay it out there. But I was asking particularly poverty figures. The current government promised to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 2019. So there was some figure put to it. Whether or not we've even touched 10 million is another matter entirely. So from 40% poverty rate, what is your candidate looking to bring it down to?
You mean, are you referring
yes,
to
that's for you. Just to put a figure to it before I go to the others because of time. That was my question.
We are going to reduce it to 12%. It's 12%. Captured very well in his policy document, yes.
All right, all right. So we'll come back to that if we have time on the program. But let me go to Mr. Yunusa. And I mean, you wasted no time earlier on in reading out the campaign strategy, the manifesto of your candidate. But you know, if we drill down deeper into your party, especially in recent times, there have been some issues which you have had to speak to. The constitution of the campaign council, the start of campaigning itself. I understand it's meant to start on the 25th, if I'm correct. And just recently, the back and forth we saw on social media from major supporters of your party. And it raised the question for a lot of people, can the center still hold? Don't forget that your party has gotten major support from people on social media. So are you worried that the recent squabbles, if I can use that term, might, you know, drop the support for your candidates in this coming elections?
Oh, no. In fact, after what they raised as issues, I think the support actually doubled. Because what we have had in the past leadership are people who are in positions of power and that don't listen to the yearnings and aspirations of the Nigerian people. When the Nigerian people spoke after we have already railed out our campaign council, they raised fundamental issues within those. And we understand and we agreed with them. That means that we have a listening leadership in place. And now what we are doing is to update the list to make sure that those areas in which Nigerian people have said no to, we will expunge them. And those that we are putting in that will go and resonate with them, we will impute them. And then it means that there's a collective bargaining. It's not it's a one-way traffic. It's a collective bargaining from the people, and then those are in government. And so It has shown the Nigerian people that this is what they should expect when Peter Obi becomes the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He's not going to loud himself over them, but rather he's going to work with them as a team to ensure that we work together and bring out the best for the Nigerian people. Look, Nigerians have gone beyond these particular personalizing issues. They've already understand at a point in time that a lot of people have deceived them with deceitful interests and not for the interest of the Nigerian people.
Yes, Mr.
So
Yunusa, because of time,
by themselves and say, look, this is what we will do, and then we are ready to do.
This was also about the, the trending issues on social media. Some major supporters of your party, some asking what will they do to end police brutality, and then there was major issues, and this dragged on for so long that a lot of people wondered, all that support on social media for your candidate, hope it will not, be diminished by those squabbles that we saw on social media.
Not at all, because remember, Peter Obi, when he was the governor of Anambra State, he parleyed with the Nigerian police. Not only did he parley with them, he gave them direction. There was no single time you hear any police brutality when he was a governor. And so therefore, at this particular point in time, somebody who goes about showing his capacity, he has the character, he has the competency, he has the compassion, he's compassionate, and he's consistent in whatever he's doing. So therefore, the expectation is very high. And I wonder if you will ask any other candidate of these particular challenges, but we are ready to listen. And the presidential candidate has said clearly there will not be any form of police brutality. Our police will be even be better off because they know that it's a people-driven government.
We have to coast home now. There'll be questions about the SARS, the Okuzu SARS during that period. But clearly another conversation for another day. But let me wind down now with Mr. Dom Pedro Obaseki. And this also came up, and I'd like you to speak to it as we wind down. This was your candidate, your presidential candidate, actually speaking at that Arawa Forum meeting in Kaduna yesterday. This has caused a lot of controversy. I'd like you to listen to it and perhaps shed more light.
For the whole of this country, I have built bridges across this country. I think what the average northerner needs is somebody who is from the north and who also understands the other parts of Nigeria and who has been able to build bridges across the rest of the country. This is what the northerner needs. He doesn't need a Yoruba candidate or an Igbo candidate. This is what the northerner needs. So I believe I stand before you as a pan-Nigerian of northern origin. Thank you very much.
So those words, I think what the average northerner needs is somebody who is from the north. He went on to say the northerner doesn't need a Yoruba candidate or an Igbo candidate. This is what the northerner needs. Just to put that in perspective, what does that mean really? Because a lot of people thought that was ethnicizing issues.
No. You all took it out of context and you keep playing it from the answer without the question. That question was asked directly. It was a question asked by a northerner, Hakim Baba Ahmed. And he asked him, what will you do for the north as a president coming from the north?
No, the question was...
And he answered based in context.
The question was actually speak to the northerner. The question was actually speak to the northerner, not what will he do.
Please, sir, can you let me speak? You just asked a question, you don't want me to answer it?
No, just to put the records clear. Please go ahead.
Kayode, please. You see, you know your time is up and you throw this up. The man was answering the question in context, replying a direct question of what will you do for it. And he told them, I am a pan-Nigerian. What the North needs is a northern man who has handshakes across the other geopolitical zones. I am not a northerner. So if I'm meeting my Edo people, my Delta people, my South people, I will tell them exactly what he said. Will he now go there in the north and begin to espouse a non-northern president who they did not ask when it's not in the question? Atiku answered a generic question with a definite generic answer. And for us to now slay him in the public domain because we are looking for people who want to create great propaganda and take it out of context, you listen to it, what he was saying from the very beginning.
I think that sheds at least some light to it. We would like to thank you so much. Because of time, we have to anchor at this point, naturally. For the coming days, definitely, this conversation is ongoing. I'd like to thank you so much, Mr. Don Pedro Obaseki, as well as Mr. Tanko Yunusa and Mr. Kasim Afegbua, all members of various political parties running for the presidential post in Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen, on the program. We'll do this again, so thank you and have a wonderful night ahead.